All right, coming to you live from Las Vegas and SpringOne Conference. I'm here with Rossen Stoyanchev. How are you, Rossen?
Very good, thank you.
So you're a committer on the Spring project. Can you tell us just a little background on Spring, where it came from?
Sure. In the Spring framework, first of all, goes back 12 years, back to 2003, 2004. Where it came from is actually a book, and even taking a step back, the early days of Java E or J2E, as it was called at the time. There was quite a bit of complexity. I mean, there was excitement on one side about the specification process and all of us being able to benefit from that, but at the same time a lot of vendor interests resulting in some specs that were quite foundational and useful, and then others that were not so useful or even counterproductive, imposing a lot of unnatural requirements. And it was in this context that Rod Johnson's book about Java E without EJBs came about, which put forward ideas that literally took on fire with the Spring framework coming around with version 1.0, and then moving on from there to provide a whole variety of useful tools that work with Java E. There's a lot of thinking out there that Spring and Java E are sort of competitors, whereas in practice they're much more symbiotic in nature. We tend to pragmatically pick up the useful parts and to build on them. Reversely, there are other parts that we don't build on and we don't recommend, and that's always been part of what was very attractive to me when I first started using the Spring framework, is that you could take this wide array of things that were put forward by the application servers and vendors and take the subset that actually matters.
And so after framework came boot, is that correct? And then cloud? So
Spring framework was first, and then there were a number of other projects that came over time with Spring integration, Spring web services. Within the Spring framework you have the web framework, Spring MVC. So many other Spring projects came to life over the years, Spring Batch. And then it was eventually around 2012 when Spring Boot was born, and interestingly it came from a conference like this one here, SpringOne Platform, and at this time was called SpringOne, from a conversation and questions being raised and by the community, and that's how Spring Boot came about.
And then Spring Cloud?
Spring Cloud, that came just a little bit after Spring Boot, more or less in parallel. The ideas there are something that's common in the Spring community, is to extend the programming model to new areas that we see are relevant to what developers are doing.
Cool. And then just to end with, where do you see Spring going in the next few years?
I think we continue on the current path. We already have quite a few things that are taking us into the next few years that you can project and see as developments. Personally, for me, the topic of reactive programming is a big part of this, big theme in Spring Framework 5. But there's certainly other themes around the evolution of Java and JDK 9 providing support for that, and then each individual project like Spring Cloud, Spring Boot continues to evolve and provide new features, so it's a constant evolution.
Cool. Rossen Stoyanchev, thank you so much.
Thank you.